By now, you know about the contentious Kenya Information and Communications Bill that was passed in Parliament on Thursday. And we want to talk about that on my panel tonight. Of course, Professor Edward Kisiangani, as always, Haron Mwangi, who's the CEO of the Media Council of Kenya, and Moses Kuria, who's a political strategist. We thank you very much, all of you, for coming in. Let's start with you, Professor. Your thoughts on that bill and the uproar surrounding it, the president saying he will not sign it until the contentious clauses are discussed?
There are two things here. There is the bill itself and the kind of heat it is generating, which is not good, but there's also the political angle. So I begin with the bill. When you look at this bill, you realize that a lot of our parliamentarians and leaders probably don't read the Constitution. Some of the mistakes and the experiences we're going through, the country would have been saved these experiences if we read the Constitution. And you begin with Article 2 of the Constitution, which actually warns us on the premise of the Constitution that this is the supreme law and we must act within the Constitution. And then secondly, it also says that no state organ or anybody can make a law or an act of parliament that violates the Constitution. And which Constitution is it violating? It's violating Section 19 of the Constitution. Section 19 spells out the different provisions and says that the state cannot grant the Bill of Rights. Actually, it says that the certain fundamental rights that the state cannot give, they belong to an individual. So the state cannot grant them. Then you can move on to Section 33, which talks about the freedom of expression. Again, it outlines what that means. And then finally, it talks about Section 34, which is part of Chapter 4, which says that the state is warned, actually, it is prohibited from interfering with anybody broadcasting or through print media giving and disseminating information. That is the political angle. It is a disaster from the point of view of government that many of its operatives don't read the Constitution, including members of parliament who are keen to pursue a political goal but don't do the Constitution. Okay. But there is also the political angle, which I wanted to say. My impression is that although the president has said that he's not going to sign the bill, probably because it's violating the Constitution, and the deputy president has said the same, in my opinion, they are actually the cooks of the disaster. They knew that this was going to happen, and looking at the kind of political pressure they have gone through, ICC and so on, and the fact that certain things are not working very well across the country, they needed a checkpoint like the one we are having. And the bill has helped them to look like they can come out and save the nation from bad legislation. That is the political angle that this bill is doing. It helps to enhance the popularity of the president, deputy president, to look like they are not part of this, but the bill was approved by cabinet before it came to Parliament.
I'm interested to know, what do you think of that? Are they using this to come out like the knights in shining armor and save the media?
Well, I'd rather not comment on that. Let me go to the substantive issue of this bill, because I think it's more fundamental. That one, is it okay to stick for the freedom of the press? No. Nobody in their right mind would support gagging the media or limiting the freedom of the media. Number two, should media be regulated? Yes.
So regulation equals gagging?
No.
Not the same thing?
And the third question is, who should regulate the media? Ideally, media should regulate itself. That's what we call self-regulation.
Right.
Now, the million-dollar question is, are they doing that?
Right. Let's just get into that.
No, they're not doing that. And if they don't do that, should we have a rogue media that is unregulated? And the answer is no, we cannot have that, and no country, no civilized country can have unregulated media.
Which part, before you go to him, Moses should not make wild claims. Which part of the Constitution tells a Moses or a Kisiangani to regulate the media?
No, you see, Professor, there's nothing like absolute rights. And your rights are always limited to where the rights of other people begin. Okay, the media has got freedom and the rights.
But even the government entry must be constitutional.
Gentlemen, we have a guest with us, so perhaps we can bring him in. Talking about regulating the media, which is what the Media Council of Kenya does. Has it failed in its mandate, and hence this bill?
I'm not sure that the debate as to whether the Media Council has failed or not has appeared anywhere. It hasn't appeared anywhere. And therefore, it means that if it is right, why should you fix it? If the Media Council of Kenya has been functioning and has been regulating the media, then why would you want to fix it? For me, media has been able to regulate itself. Self-regulation is working in Kenya. Media Council has had the president appearing. It has had the former First Lady, Lucy, appearing. It has had the former minister, Chris Murungaru, appearing. And the judgment was done, and it was fair. And therefore, the media even accepted the judgment. The fines they were asked to pay, they pay the fines, and therefore the decisions of the Complaints Commission have been adhered to, and therefore it has been working.
All right, let's also talk about another amendment that's coming in, and it's the Media Council of Kenya bill, where they're talking about the membership and how the selection will be done through parliamentary vetting, and that's yet another bill that we're going to get into this coming week in the legislature. What do you think about that? Because giving the Media Council of Kenya powers to license publications, terminate licenses, even going as far as punishing readers who may be in possession of banned publications. Do you think this is yet another affront on the media?
I think as the professor is slightly putting it, I think there's lack of understanding of what media freedom is all about. In fact, the whole issues of registration of newspaper, it doesn't exist anymore. In other countries that have advanced democracies, what happens that you are able to to communicate, you're able to come up with a newspaper, you publish your newspaper, you sell your newspaper, you circulate your newspaper. What is required is accreditation. You just register that I have a newspaper that is existing for the purpose of regulation of that newspaper. But you cannot say that you have to license newspapers. It doesn't happen.
Okay, all right. Moses, you've mentioned in a number of tweets that at one point the media invited government in to regulate. How did they do that?
If you look at this issue of regulation and the fact that there's so much hypocrisy in this whole process. Mr. Mwangi here, as the CEO of Media Council of Kenya, went through this bill with the CIC, the Commission for Implementation of the Constitution. At that point, nothing was wrong. They had a good meeting, they reviewed everything, and then they passed the law to Parliament. When it came to Parliament, the media owners were involved. I've got this document, which was the only amendment. The only amendment which was sent by Mr. Patrick Kwaku on behalf of the media owners is to say that on one paragraph to include Media Owners Association, Editors Guild, and Kenya Association of Journalists. And I've actually, have a lot of friends in the media, and I've checked that the media owners didn't even involve the rank and file journalists on the ground who do the work, who actually, take that camera on a day-to-day basis. So we're asking ourselves, actually, which media industry? Is it the media owners? Is it the editors? Is it the Media Council? Because these guys, they would want to portray the impression like they are together. They are not together. The media owners are actually looking at this from a commercial perspective. The media practitioners are on their own. The Editors Guild has lost somewhere there. The Media Council actually, if you look at, for example, that front page photo on the Sunday Nation, on that fateful day of Westgate, a photo of a woman in agony, and which everybody agree that went beyond, even the lowest thresholds of regulation. Where was the Media Council in that? Does the Media Council only has to sit back and wait when somebody complains? Isn't there, a self-executing mechanism for Media Council to say, look, we are going to regulate this so that you don't give government a chance to regulate?
I think the point is we shall be narrowing this discussion if we look at the Media Council as the source of our agony. The freedom of expression is for all of us as Kenyans. We don't care what the Media Council does. We don't care what it thinks, but we care about ourselves because we want to access information. The origin of this freedom is Lockean, the 17th, 18th century British scholar who gave us the reasons why government exists. Governments exist to guard certain inalienable rights, among which the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit for happiness. It is the basis of that, what we were given by John Locke, that this constitution talks about the freedom of press and expression.
Right.
And the reason why this media is under attack today is because the media exposes corruption in the police force, in government departments. Recently, the reason why the media was attacked over Westgate is that it reported things like looting. Later, the people who are accused of keeping information admitted that somebody had made a mistake.
Right.
So if you kill the media, how shall we know that somebody made a mistake?
All right, let's get into this. Haron, did you take a look at the proposed amendments to the bill? Were you okay with certain aspects like the tribunal, which is now the contentious issue?
To be honest, I saw these amendments during on Thursday. That's when I discovered that there were some certain things.
So were they sneaked in?
Absolutely, they were sneaked in. There was no consultation on Kika bill. The only consultation that took place on Kika bill took place in Karen, the Kenya Commercial Bank Training Center. That's the only consultation.
And when was that?
And that was about, I think it was about May or June thereabout. That's when we had just one consultation on Kika bill, because there was the ICCK bill that actually was there and had been debated and been discussed by the stakeholders. But this one came later, and the cabinet secretary formed a small group of people to look at and came up with this bill, which was contrary and different from the initial document that had been discussed last year and early this year by stakeholders. And therefore, to even assume that there was any consultation whatsoever on this bill is not right.
No,
The only group that went to the parliamentary group was the Media Council of Kenya, and we had only one contentious issue in that bill initially. The contentious bill was broadcasting content. The other aspect of this bill were correct. The whole issue of the tribunal was not there. This was a last minute kind of push into that bill, and therefore there was no consultation at all. The Committee on Energy, Information and Communication brought this and removed, actually this was something that is being circulated in the industry. And the person that circulated removed the context of circulation and the context of exchange. It is not there at all. We have this email, and therefore there was no consultation on this bill whatsoever.
Moses?
No, of course.
It's easier to believe Mwangi than you can believe Moses Kuria.
Absolutely.
You can see.
I have been at the head of this thing. There was no discussion whatsoever.
Excuse me, I think, this kind of heckling I've complained about before, but, with all due respect to Mr. Mwangi, first of all, I support freedom of the press. And Mr. Mwangi will attest to that during the World
Press Freedom Day.
I worked with him extensively, to make that day a success, because I believe in the freedom of the press. But I don't believe in the anarchy of the press. I don't believe in the anarchy of the media. I believe in the freedom of the press, and I believe in the freedom of consumers of the press, and I believe in the freedom of the other people. And in that respect, I do believe that Mr. Mwangi is being economical with the truth, because he is the one, Media Council, who sat with CIC and went through the way legislation happens. It comes from cabinet, and then cabinet takes it to CIC before it goes to parliament. So,
but his claim is that there were some aspects of it that were not included.
But CIC
let me clarify this. Let me clarify this, iPhone. Let me clarify this. The only bill we discussed with CIC at the Intercon, with the stakeholders, the KUJ, the Editors Guild, the KCA, the Ministry of Information, was the media bill, which has been discussed yet. That's the only bill that we discussed.
Mr. Mwangi, I invite you. This is from Mr. Patrick Kwaku,
this bill,
who is a member of your council. And he says, please read the areas in red. And these are the only changes we want.
Kwaku is not a member of the Media Council of Kenya. He's not a member of the Media Council. That is an individual. So he's an investor. He's not a member of the Media Council of Kenya. So these are individual contributions to the bill, which you actually know there was no consensus on that particular bill. The only bill that we discussed with CIC was the media bill that we are waiting for discussion in the parliament. Then we see, and we have made contribution in that bill.
Okay.
So you did have an objective interest in this bill.
This was the
kicker is not within the preserve of the Media Council. Is that what you're saying?
The kicker bill had one contentious issue that we felt should be addressed, and that was the broadcasting content. That it was going to go to the CCK, but we said no, that is a preserve of the Media Council, because it has ethical issues, and ethical issues are issues of self-regulation, and we said that was the most contentious issues that we wanted to come to the Media Council of Kenya.
All right.
So these other issues have been, the tribunal is a last-minute trash in this bill.
Let's bring in what the Attorney General had to say, because he said he will now go to the Hansard and take a look at what it said, and see if there are certain aspects that he will advise the president on. Some people have called him dishonest because he's generally the advisor of this professor.
You see, we go back to my point, which unfortunately my brother Moses didn't want to even hear of. He called it a side issue. Political operations across the world have their own strategies, and there is a legal way of sorting out problems, but there's also the political way. What I've argued is this: it is not possible that this bill went to Parliament without the knowledge, the way it is, without the knowledge of the Attorney General, without the knowledge of the top leadership of this country. They knew about what was there. Even they knew in advance that it was violating the Constitution. But what I was saying is that why would they probably have allowed it to reach this end? It reaches this end because the rank and file of this country may not know what happens through about the legislative agenda. So when it goes there, the same people who knew that this bill was contentious turn out to be saviors of the Republic by saying that, look, we saw somebody made a mistake and now we are saving you. That enhances the popularity of a political establishment.
Moses, are they using this for political? I'll ask you again, and yes, I didn't answer before. Are they using this for political gain?
It has happened in other places.
You see, the biggest problem we have in this country, as I'm saying, is hypocrisy. If everybody would do what is supposed to be done, Cabinet is supposed to originate legislation. CIC is supposed to check on constitutionalism of that legislation. Now, stakeholders are supposed to put an input of that legislation once it's in Parliament. Members of Parliament are supposed to express their views on the floor of the Parliament. And that's why I still can't understand why the President cannot sign this bill, because that Parliament is a bipartisan Parliament. All the members were there, okay? Every other person.
There were actually only 60 members of Parliament.
So where are the others? Did they have permission to be on leave?
Moses,
why come and complain? You see, I'm not really looking at the end point of this other than the process, because if in this country we keep on ducking responsibility, someone refused to go to Parliament, then come and start complaining, oh, it has been passed, it's a draconian, including some of the parties which has got a lot of members in that Parliament. Members of the media, members of the industry, members of stakeholders refuse to. We passed this constitution, and one of the things we enjoy and which we take pride in is what we call public participation. We are given a chance for public participation. Nobody turns up.
So Moses, should the President sign this bill without any amendments?
Moses, we shall not be speaking on this television show. We shall not be speaking here.
Would you sign this bill?
Maybe. Do you want to answer for me or I answer? Okay, let me answer that.
Okay.
Yes.
So if I was the President, I would not have signed this bill, because everybody had a chance. I mean, what is the basis for not signing?
So should he sign it or not?
No, if I was the President,
yeah.
I am not the President.
Okay.
For record.
Yes.
If I was the President, I would not sign this bill.
Why?
Because everybody had a chance. I would go and say, did this bill originate from Cabinet? Tick. Did it go to CIC? Tick. Were public given a chance to give their views? Tick. Was the Parliament in session, or was there some army outside Parliament blocking members of Parliament from contributing? Let us not try to compete with Caesar's wife on who is screen now, because there's a public furor. I'm finding this hypocrisy disturbing.
So you would sign?
So you would sign it?
Yes, I would sign.
Yeah, you see, that is the difference between me and Moses Kuria. Because look at what he's telling you. That when the country, so long as the vehicle had brakes, the engine was working very well, even if the brakes fail in the middle, you just continue racing your wheel on the pedal until it drops into the Indian Ocean.
People like you are behaving like children. You are given a chance, you don't take the chance, and then you start complaining after. Are we going to move forward as a country?
But the children have rights too.
All right,
let me just respond to that. Now, you know, Moses is looking at the process.
Absolutely.
We are looking at the end product. The end product is wrong. The process could have been followed, but the end product is wrong.
I don't think.
And therefore, we are saying that. And actually, I would say that even the process really was not followed. Because I'm telling you, the truth is that this bill was only discussed once by stakeholders. Once. And I'm telling you that there have been very sporadic kind of contribution through by various stakeholders. Therefore, there was no proper and exhaustive consultation on this particular bill. So, unlike the media bill, that actually the original media bill, the 2011-2012 bill was good bill. We don't know exactly what this other bill is going to look like, and therefore consultation on this bill was not exhaustive. And furthermore, the CIC wrote, it was in public domain, that they were not satisfied by the bill that the cabinet secretary took to parliament.
Okay.
Actually, the bill that was taken to parliament was not the bill that came from CSA.
All right, okay. Last question, and I think to all of us, is if this bill is to be signed into law, that means the government would be able to regulate the content that we would be able to air. Is that not right, Harun? On our news, entertainment, and everything. Yeah. Would you be comfortable, Moses, with the regulation of content on a show such as Checkpoint?
Well, I'll not be comfortable with that, but what I'm saying is people should take responsibility.
So should we sign it, and would you be happy with the content here being regulated?
No, I'll not support regulation of any content.
But
I'm saying that media, I think he should sign to teach this kind of people some lesson.
He will not be teaching anybody a lesson. He will be destroying our country.
Next time, don't just come and compete with Caesar's wife, yeah? After the act, yeah? And if in the unlikely event or likely event that people are given a chance, I would advise them, please go and take an active role in public participation, because that is why we passed this constitution, provided for it. But I'm sick and tired of people just being critics. You are given a chance, come and make things good. You just, you go to sleep, and then after it's passed, court says, oh, it is a bad bill. The media says, oh, it's draconian. Fine, that be as it may. But where were you? You are given a chance. I think I'm raising a fundamental issue here. Okay,
and so you're okay with being told what to say on this show?
No, of course, except Kisiagani.
No. You see,
Professor, final thoughts.
The point is this. It's good the president can't listen to Korea, because I know he won't, so he will not sign. But if he had people like Moses having an upper hand, then this country would go to the dogs. He will not. But the bottom line is this. Let us begin from where we started. Let people read the Constitution. The Constitution prohibits the state from interfering with broadcast and print media. Period. Okay. Until we change that Constitution, it is not going to work. And again, what Parliament needs to do, and a number of other leaders who are working in cahoots with Parliament to suppress press freedom in this country, they should do things right. They have not been doing things right. The media has been highlighting things like corruption, which must stop. Let them do things right, and the media will highlight them in a positive sense.
All right, okay, Professor, let's give Harun the chance. We just have 1 minute, yes, so what next for the Media Council?
The measure of any good law in media, the measure of any good regulation in media, is whether it is giving room to media to check the powers of the people in leadership and hold them accountable.
All right. What next? If the president decide to sign this bill?
He has already said that he can't sign. What he says that we need to address those contentious issues.
Okay, and what happens if those contentious issues are not addressed to the liking or the satisfaction of the Media Council of Kenya? There's also the Media Council of Kenya bill that's coming up, again, to just put some regulation into how the Media Council of Kenya is constituted. What are you going to do?
Media Council of Kenya is made up of the industry, the entire industry, because it has all bodies that from various walks of life and from the industry, so to speak. But what you're saying is that if the president does not assent or assent this into law, or those contentious issues are not addressed, then there are people who are free to go to court.
Yes, that is the point. Go to court. The Constitution is the supreme law. Anybody who makes a law which violates our Constitution must be impeached.
Let me ask you, are you going to take advantage of if this bill is not signed, are you going to give your contribution as Media Council? Are you going to come here again and deny that Kiprono Kitoni from Media Owners Association is a key stakeholder of the media industry? Are you going to sit back and just come back here on Checkpoint to complain again?
We have made contribution, and I've said that we made contribution, and this was leaked in the last minute.
All right.
That's what you're saying.
We have to leave it at that for this evening, and thank you so much, gentlemen, for being a part of this, and we wait to see what happens with this bill. Of course, Moses, okay with it, okay with content on Checkpoint being regulated, if only to teach everyone a lesson, and of course we know where you stand regarding this. Thank you very much, and thanks for your feedback as well.